You know, I wasn't planning on streaming today. But now I'm here. Wait for check my phone, see if the audio looks fine. Hello? Hello? There it is. The music's very loud. I'm gonna turn that down. General. There we go. I didn't like their new music all that much. But yeah. Is that better? Okay. Let me try to move the mic a little closer to me. Maybe right there. Is that better? Yeah, that's way better. Okay. Alright, well, this is just to get my thoughts on some things that have been happening in my life. And just kind of the conclusion that I've made. I was going to stream today. I was actually going to wait to stream Minecraft until I was done. But I was done. I remodeled the whole thing, my whole castle. And I've just realized something about it. You know, my whole life, everybody that I know has called me lazy. They've made up things about me saying that, like, I'd rather sit on my phone than actually do anything. Or I'd rather go play a video game than actually go get a job. Or something like that. Before I started working at the Smiths here in Vernal, I got into kind of a fight with my relatives because I didn't have a traditional job. Me and my wife did DoorDash, and it paid enough. We had a roommate and everything, and it, you know, we never were late on payments or anything like that. Nothing. And everyone kept getting on our case about getting a real job. And that I'm just being lazy because I won't go and apply for McDonald's or for whatever. And I knew inside myself, like, I will never work at a McDonald's. And I'll never work at McDonald's, I'll never work at a Wendy's, I'll never work at some fast food place, and now I work at a deli, at a grocery store, which is the closest you can get to fast food without actually being fast food. And I just started thinking about stuff today. What's been happening at my job is I no longer just work at the deli. I work at the fuel center, which is the little kiosk where there's gas. And in my head, I was like, okay, this must be like the chillest job, you know, because like all I have to do is make sure everything's clean. You know, I'm probably gonna be closing because I'm new, and that's just how it works. And But other than that, I didn't think it was going to be all that bad. Well, lo and behold, I have been written up, chastised, basically treated like more patronized than I've ever been patronized in my life with this job than any other job I've ever had, ever. Even the deli job, which I do more. There's way more regulations on the deli because it's a health thing. And I have never really gotten in trouble with the deli. I've worked there this whole time, and I've never missed anything. I've never miscounted anything. I've never done anything to get reprimanded. My job before that, there were mistakes done for sure. Like I've made mistakes. I'm not saying I'm a perfect employee or anything, or that I'm even a good employee. I don't know. I've seen good employees, and it's like, have you used up all that? Interesting. Like I've met great employees that are paid way less than they should be paid. They're valued way less than they should be. They take so much shit on the cheek and just go with it. And I'm not a good employee, and there's a reason for that. It's because I don't take stuff on the cheek. I don't care that like you're my manager or if you're anything. If you want respect, you must give it. You must be respectable. And one of the ways to do that is to give it. And maybe you give it to people that are, not worthy of it. Maybe, whatever. But that is one of the easiest ways to earn respect, is to just give it. Especially when it is not earned. Right. And so I kind of have like this mental philosophy of basically I walk around and every person I meet starts at like 5 in the respect category, right? It's not super high, but it's not 0. I don't just walk around like I don't respect anybody. Even random strangers, I will give out a certain amount of respect where they can, they have some leeway, but their actions and how they treat me will affect that level. And basically, if you don't know me at all and you treat me like a subordinate or like some kind of, if you don't know me at all and you treat me with no respect, that number will go down from 5 to 4 until it reaches to 3 to 2, then 1. I'll give you all the chances in the world to get it back up. But once a person hits 0, on that, like, make believe scale, it's done. I have never met a person ever that has hit 0 respectability and ever came back from it. And you want to know why? Because the only way to hit 0 respectability is to be deliberately disrespectful. And anyway, basically, I'm back in that situation again that I referred to at the beginning of this, where I'm being accused of being lazy. I'm being accused of not doing anything and not caring about my job or whatever, you know. And it's not the first time that my manager and her manager has accused me of that. And then I started to think how they wanted me to. Am I lazy? Everybody has always called me that. And then whenever I just didn't want to do something, that was the excuse, was that they would come up with. I didn't want to do it because I'm lazy. I had a problem with it that day because I just want to be lazy. Then I started to think about something. I'm thinking all about this while playing this game. While I'm building a castle. Not because I'm getting paid for it. No one's paying me for this. Not only am I building a castle, I just tore down half this castle in the last month to make it look better. Because there were imperfections and I was sick of seeing them every time I looked at it. I was sick of looking at it and being like, this is just a square with some trimming. So I started to think about stuff. And you know how you like fall in a pit of despair of just like, I'm just lazy. You know, you start doubting yourself, start thinking what everyone wants you to think about. And then I look at this. It's not an accomplishment. It's never going to be impressive. It's never going to go on a resume. And yet I've spent hundreds of hours collecting the stone, smelting it down, getting the tree wood, doing the wall, building all the stuff that I needed to build to do all that, the road, the bridge, everything. And I did it for fun. And then I started thinking some more stuff. I've written an entire book. I've written the first draft of a 1,000-page book. If I were to go do a second draft of that book, it would definitely exceed 2,000 pages. And that was my first ever writing project that I did it purely on my own, without any recognition, without even like an end goal of that book, because I switched gears and switched over to a shorter book writing just to start out, you know, just economically it made more sense. And then I not only wrote a second book, I wrote 5 drafts of a second book. All while, and this isn't just like that 1,000-page book. I had no girlfriend. I had no job for half of it. Well, I had a job. It just wasn't like a traditional employment job. It was a job within like the family. I didn't have any rent really, and I didn't have any responsibilities. So the first book could have just been a fluke. You know, I had all the free time in the world, right? And yet, every person I know calls me lazy. Except for my wife. She would never call me lazy. She's the only person that doesn't really call me that. Has never ever called me that. Even her family thinks I'm lazy. And I've just kind of decided. It's 2 creepers right there. I just kind of accepted that I was. And now I don't. I don't accept it. I have proof. I have tangible, physical proof. Even on my days off, I go and do stuff like this. I go and write when no one's telling me to, when no one expects a chapter by the end of the week, and there's not an assignment that I'm going to get a grade for. It's just something that I do because I want to. I went from being almost illiterate with writing, like legitimately never knew where to put a comma, didn't know how to, when I should do a paragraph. I'm still not fully knowledgeable on it. I haven't read a book since 2020. I have dyslexia. So it's not like it was just easy for me to write a book. I remember when I first started that 1,000-page book, the first 20 pages took me a month. And that's just the first draft. It took me over a month. I think it was a month and a half. And I had already written out what was going to happen in those chapters, but it still took me a month and a half. I remember it took me an entire school day because I was a substitute facilitating a computer class, and I told the people that I was working on homework, but I wasn't. I was working on my book. I remember it would take me all day from first period to last period of the day, and I would write 1,000 words. 1,000. In an hour now, I can write 500 words. And that's on the first draft. It's the only draft I count words on. Because the first draft does not need to be good. It does not need to be well written. I just need to get it finished. I need to put words on the page. That's why I count on the first draft, not the other ones. So the second book that I've written, it's fully written, all the way to the finishing version of the book. I did it all while in my first year of marriage. I did it all while I had a legitimate payment on an apartment that I was responsible for and didn't have an hourly job that just paid for it. I did it all while figuring out finances, figuring out taxes, figuring out how to be married, figuring out all the drama that comes with having a second entire family and not agreeing on everything. I'm figuring out how to be married, figuring out how to do everything that I needed to do, while also building a YouTube channel. And I gotta say, I never ever got saturated with YouTube until I got this new job. And then it felt like I just didn't have effort for writing and YouTube. I didn't have the motivation. Which just kind of sucks. Because during the time that I was writing the first book, YouTube was the escape. YouTube was the thing that, like, you know, it's the dream that I can just play a game, talk to people online, and that's it. I don't have to be clever. I don't have to figure it out beforehand. I didn't have to prep. And I didn't care if I had 1,000 subscribers or whatever. And now I just feel like everything that I do needs to be so I can get rid of this job. And I know YouTube's not going to do that. At least not for a few years. And all these projects I want to do, you know, that involve more writing, I just... Anyway. I'm just saying all this because I know I'm not lazy. I know every single person who's ever criticized me for that is just wrong. I'm not lazy and I've never been lazy. I've just never been motivated to do things that didn't matter. And yeah, when I was younger, obviously it'd just be everything didn't matter to me. But I'm starting to realize that about myself. More and more that the things that I need to do or want to do are things that actually matter. And they may not matter to anybody else, but they matter to me. You know? Like this. It doesn't matter to anybody else. I'll have 5 seconds of showing somebody this. Like, I'll have a total of maybe 10 minutes of showing somebody that I know this castle after I'm done. And you know, want to know what I'm going to be thinking the entire time I'm doing it? What should I do in the next castle? See, it's the whole thing. So this is just boiling down to the title, pretty much. If you look anywhere online, that has any relation to jobs, you'll find countless horror stories. In fact, I would bet you'll find more horror stories, like 10 times more horror stories than you will good stories about managers or about jobs in general. And I know that's true. I know that it's true. Because even in my life, I have far more of those than I have good stories. There's then maybe... Let's see. In government buildings, managers are a lot better. So... It's probably just because government handles it better. I don't know. Anyway. I just started realizing, like, why do we all put up with this? You know what I mean? It's like having a bad boyfriend that everybody else likes. You're just kind of expected to deal with it. And whenever you complain about it, people take the side of the abuser than your side. It happens all the time. Happens to my wife, happens to me, happens to everybody I know. Having a toxic job is like having a toxic boyfriend that everybody likes. And if you bring up the fact that you don't like it, there's always an excuse for it. It's like, well, are you doing this? Are you doing that? Try doing this. Try doing that. It's always on you to fix the problem. Just imagine if, and I'm not saying it's the same thing, but in regards to how insane it can make you feel, I'm going to say it's the same thing. And obviously if your job is physically abusive, it's a whole different thing, but a lot of jobs are very much mentally abusive. My manager has directly told me that I have a higher bar of excellence than everybody else. And that's not just me saying that's what they said, I'm paraphrasing. I recorded them saying that. See, I've had to record every chore that I've done, counting the money in the till. I've had to record myself in any meeting with my manager. All because of a fuel station. Not because I was not meeting the safety standards, so it might blow up. No, because somehow I kept miscounting stuff. I would not. There was this recent one is I got chastised for not cleaning something that I did clean. I told them I did clean it, and they said, "No, you didn't." Just so you know, I'm the night shift. I am the only person there, and it's also for when my shift ends, it's 7 hours until someone shows up to see what I did. And it's not inside where no one else is going to touch it or anything. It's outside, and people get gas all night. Like, maybe not as much as people during the day, but people still go and get gas all night. You know, it's just how it works. Anyway, I started thinking to myself, like, the only reason I'm putting up with this right now is because it pays more than anywhere else here, and it's a very easy job while I'm there. But it's becoming so emotionally and just intellectually taxing, I guess, to put up with it. I always feel like I have to defend myself to my other coworkers, because my manager has made stuff up, passing it off as truth, and then when I confronted her about it, she basically said, "I don't care." She's never apologized for anything that she's made up, and she doesn't keep it private. She will tell everybody before she even talks to me about it, before she even confirms that that's what I'm doing. And there are cameras, but it's either the managers aren't allowed to go look at the cameras whenever they want, or she just doesn't. Because half the stuff that she gets upset about doesn't even happen. like this last time. She called me into an office with another manager that was higher up, and they both chastised me for not cleaning something that I cleaned. They both, and not because it was the fourth or fifth time I've done it. I confirmed with them this is the first time is that I've ever, at least in the last 6 months, have just not done a chore. And you'd think that with that kind of track record, you'd be given the benefit of the doubt. Right? You would think that that would allow for some kind of, okay, let's have a conversation like what happened, like what did it look like when you left, kind of thing. So I have no history of just leaving chores. I have no history of just not doing anything. And this is all after I had made huge strides in the closing so that I would stop messing up. And those strides were not because this is what the manager told me to do. They never gave me a solution that actually worked. They would give me a solution that would make more problems. Because none of the managers that I ever talked to about it or ever chastised me have ever done a closing shift. And so they think it works just like every other shift. And I have to inform them that it doesn't work that way. But they don't believe me. They say, well, this is how it works for everybody else, so it has to work for you. And when they say everybody else, they literally said, people get, the people at 2 o'clock, they get this done whenever we ask them to. Or they do it this way. I go to work at 5 p.m. And I'm there till 11. They literally compared me to an entirely different shift, which means they didn't even talk to the other night shift person to see, hey, is this normal? Because they don't care. During that meeting, I've been sick of the way that they've been treating me for a while. And so I was combative. I didn't just say, yeah, okay, like every other freaking boomer ever told me to. I was combative. I was sick of being treated like some kind of wage slave. So I asked them 1,000 questions. I asked them why they thought me doing it a specific way is better. And they would answer with, this is what corporate wants us to do now. Or they would point the finger at something else, or they would do this or that. Or they would just shut me down and say, this is how it should be done. These managers are at least 10 years older than me. I know the manager right over me is probably double my age. The other manager is not double my age, but he's definitely 10 years older than me. And they could not answer a simple question of any person that has a task or gives out a task could answer. And it's how is this better than the way I'm doing it? It's not a hard question to answer. Heck, I came up with answers for them. But they disregarded it. I don't get to ask questions. They don't have to answer my questions. But I have to comply with whatever their demands are. And it just kind of opened my eyes. You see, I thought it was all just a miscommunication. The reason why I was getting chastised so much, the reason why this, all, you know, I thought it was all a miscommunication. But that told me there's no miscommunication here. We already have an image of who you are. And every time you mess up, there is no conversation. It's just ridicule and punishment. There's no conversation of like, how do you think you should fix this? It's, this is the answer that you're going to go with now, and you're just going to have to do it like this. And it's just sad. It is sad that they think I would put up with that. And it's mostly sad because I know for a fact the only reason they're acting like this is because this is how everyone's always acted towards them in the workplace. Bad leadership is learned. You can say it's because they didn't have an example, but having no example is example. Bad leadership is learned. And it's not my job to correct the leadership. It's not my job to manage my manager. It never has been my job to do any of that, and it never will be my job to do any of that. It should never be my job to disprove what my manager is saying. I should not constantly feel like I am at trial on the defense. And I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna anymore. And the whole reason why we've all get fed this lie that jobs have to suck really don't. The whole reason why that managers have this weird belief that you should be trying to go up in life through this company, because that's ridiculous. Why should you have to be more... It's gonna break. Why should you have to be more loyal? It didn't break. Why should you have to be more loyal than the person that's paying you? What do you mean by that? Well, it's all double standards, right? If I want to write up my manager for a hostile work environment, I have to have proof. But if she wants to write me up for not doing a chore, there's nothing stopping her. There's absolutely nothing stopping her. It could be a complete fabricated lie. And unless I can prove that it is, I'm screwed. The burden of proof is on you no matter what. Whether you're in the wrong or the right. And we all think that's okay. We all just kind of pretend like, yeah, it should be how it is. We need to protect employers, not employees. That's not the only double standard. No, the 2 weeks notice is the biggest middle finger to your employee you could ever have in your business. You know what it costs a business when you don't give a 2 weeks notice? It costs them exactly what you are worth to them. Nothing more, nothing less. If you're in a job where the only thing that's holding you back from them not needing you is because you take up a shift that they don't like to take up, the repercussions of quitting on the spot is they now have to do a shift that they don't like. And maybe somebody gets paid overtime, but probably not. I guarantee you, no. With corporate, if you have a corporate job, no. What'll happen is it's set up in a way where if you do that, you're not screwing over the company, you're only screwing over. Sorry. You're not screwing over the company, you're just screwing over your other coworkers. You don't even really screw over the managers. You just make them have to do their job. It's like if you are in a job position where like cleaning is part of it and the people before you didn't clean very well or maybe missed a chore, it just makes you have to do more of your job. And yeah, that sucks, but it's your job, right? Like you're getting paid for that. That's what it's expected of you. And it's not like they didn't do their job, it's just they didn't do it as well as you would have liked. Which I think is fair. And of course, the manager's not going to pick up any more chores than they have to. My manager that had to clean my mistake or whatever, she literally waited until there was a coworker there. She waited until one of my coworkers showed up and made her do half. And then complained about how they had to hurry and get it done. To my face. She got there at 6. My coworker got there at 10. And I've done a morning shift with her. And I gotta say, there was not 4 hours worth of stuff that she needed to get done. There just wasn't. There was no snow on the ground that she needed to shovel. There was no leaves on the ground that she needed to blow. There was no anything. If anything, it was just she had to go clean something. And it wasn't any of the extensive stuff, because that's all I've done this week, is clean the extensive stuff as a punishment. Yesterday, as my punishment, they made me do a completely arbitrary and meaningless chore that took up 2.5 hours of my job, of my shift, just doing that chore. I did not take any breaks from doing that chore. I literally started when I got there, maybe 15 minutes after I showed up, and I was still doing it past 7:30. It was a punishment chore. I've never heard of anyone having to do that chore before. And of course they made up the bullshit of like, oh, you know, this is a new thing that corporate's asking us to do and stuff. Because everyone's a coward. That's really what it boils down to. No one can ever admit that they're doing this on purpose. Anyway, so that chore took 2.5 hours, and then luckily my job actually provides a like stool-like chair, but I had noticed the night before that the chair was getting kind of wobbly, and I was hoping that something would have been done about it, because there's 2 other people that have to sit on that chair before I have to sit on it again. Of course, nothing was done about it because no one gives a shit. I go to sit down on the chair. Well, actually, no, I don't go to sit down on the chair. I knew nothing was done about it, and I was going to try to fix it with tape or something, like give it some more support where it needed it or whatever. So I tape it up. I test it out. It didn't really do much, so I tape it up some more, test it out, and I started spinning like crazy on the chair until it broke. So after doing, I'm not going to say a grueling task, but a meaningless task for, oh, I've totally freaking messed up. Okay. A meaningless task for 2.5 hours. I then had to just stay on my feet the rest of the time. It's no one's fault, really, except for definitely is somebody's fault. And I know that like a lot of people have jobs where they don't even get to sit down and stuff, which sucks. I don't get that either, and that's another thing that I'm just gonna pile up onto my reasoning here. The whole fact that me saying I didn't get to sit down for that the full shift is only going to cause people to get angry. You are just proving my point. You are legitimately just proving my point. You have brainwashed yourself into thinking that jobs should be terrible. The heck? Oh, no, we're good. That it is totally okay and makes a lot of sense for a job to make you stand the whole time. The only time you ever get to sit down is on break. And some jobs are at a speed that there really isn't any time to sit down. But you're going to look me in the face and tell me that when you're a cashier on a slow day, it would hinder anything to have a chair or a stool? Not even on a slow day. Busy day. You have a stool behind the register. You can sit on it while scanning items. Are you going to tell me that that's going to do anything to the bottom line? at all. You're like, well, it's just not professional. Who says? Who freaking says? A pilot sitting the whole time while they're on their job? Why can't a cashier? Just because we're all freaking assholes to each other? That's kind of ridiculous. Like, why does that trump being just a decent human being? And this is where everything comes from. This is where I figured it out. Because every boomer, every adult that thinks they know anything about business or about life, that all the adults that work at the Smiths that are freaking 50 and above that will tell me how life works, and all they have done is work retail jobs their whole life. This is what they say. You gotta have a plan for retirement, dude. It's like, yeah, you can do all this, but if you can't retire, then what's it for? I just realized, like, less than an hour ago, where it all comes from, and that's where it is. We have all been told this lie about some freaking promised land retirement. Not from a prophet, not from God, but from the people that want you to work for them. They say, yeah, come work for us. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be really hard. You're not gonna get any sick days. You're not gonna get any days off. You're not gonna get any benefits. You're never gonna get promoted, and you're not going to get a raise. But in 40 years, you don't have to work anymore. What kind of plan is that? And that is the whole justification of every old person of why jobs should suck. If you ever ask an older person why jobs have to suck, they just say because that's just how they are. That's not an explanation. That's an excuse. That's an excuse because you know it's harder to go against it than it is to just accept it, to just take it. And because they never had the balls to even try to change anything about it. And they just worked their entire lives for a paycheck in some false promised land. Nowhere in the Bible does it say, thou shalt work a 9 to 5 and love it. Even the Israelites, when they were going to their promised land, the only reason they did not achieve it was because of their own iniquity, not because it was rigged from the beginning. And that is where all the evil of jobs stem. The lie of retirement. Let me ask you something. From all those people that did retire back in the day, how many of them do you think stayed retired? How many of them do you think were happy to not do a damn thing for the rest of their lives? How many? Because I can guarantee you, it's less than you think. Human beings are not made to retire. But the problem is how do you convince someone to put up with your bullshit and to put up with the shit of your job, of the job you're forcing them to do, just for money and for the rest of their lives? Well, you gotta dangle a carrot in front of them. And that carrot can be miles away, but as long as they think it's there, then they're more likely to put up with nonsense. They're more likely to get a job that's meaningless, to never strive for anything higher than that. That's why you find older people working at grocery stores. That's why you'll have people that are on Social Security but still working part-time jobs. It's because retirement doesn't exist. It may have back in the day, back when there was maybe 5 jobs you could have gotten in your geographical area in total, and they actually appreciated the fact that you worked for them for 20 years. It's the same lie of promotions. It's the same lie that everyone tells you. It's so they can milk as much of your time, your effort, your life, and your heart as possible. All for the exchange of $10. $15 or $20. You know what's funny about hourly pay? Is that the system of it is broken. The system itself is broken. And I'll explain why. So you're paying this employee hourly. But let's say their first hour is when they do the most amount of stuff. The most amount of productive stuff. Not because they get tired or anything. That's just when they do their productivity. And then for the next 5 hours, you are now paying them the same amount that you paid them during their productivity, but now they're just there. They're just there. And maybe, and then here's the wild thing. You have an employee that can close the shift. You know, everything's closed. You don't need anyone to be there because everything is closed. And they can do it an hour faster than everybody else. They can save you that $10 every time they work. And yet, what do? You get mad at them because they didn't have permission to leave. Because when they're working for you, they're not a person anymore. And that's the whole problem with all of it. Employees, we talk about dehumanization of stuff. Employees are some of the most dehumanized people in this country. You complain about your wage. You complain about not being able to pay for the stuff that you need to pay for to live. Oh, you're just lazy. You just want to get paid more for doing nothing. Even though every CEO, every person that is working hard, if you said, hey, I want you to do this job exactly the same, but for $3 less an hour, how many of them would be happy about that? In an 8-hour shift, it's only $24 less, right? Shouldn't be that big of a deal. No one will ever be able to convince me that I have spent a day well spent. That my day was well spent since I was at work for 8 hours. And not with my wife. Even not doing this for 8 hours. Not even writing a page of... If I wrote one page of a book, I feel infinitely more productive that day than if I was on my feet doing meaningless tasks to make my employer look good to the customers and to corporate. Let me ask you what sounds better. For all you people out there that love the idea of retirement. Love the idea that if you just let people abuse you right now, you'll have so much time to yourself and for your family. What sounds better to you? Doing the thing that you absolutely love. Something that you would die unless you could do it every day. For the rest of your life. No retirement. No, 401ks, nothing. Paid for everything that you needed it to, and you get to do it the rest of your life. Or, in fact, actually, no. Before we get to that, think of that. What is that thing? What is the thing that you want to do the rest of your life? That you would see yourself having fun doing the rest of your life? And does it have anything to do with being a cashier? Does it have anything to do with being a deli worker, working at a gas station? Anything? Because I bet it doesn't. I would bet you that you had a very vivid image of something. Even something that didn't make money. Something that you just loved. That you wished you could do your whole life every day. Because we all have something that we wish we could have done our entire lives. We all have that thing. And it has nothing to do with the job that you have. It has nothing to do with that boss that abused you and called you names and called you out in front of your coworkers and did so many hateful things towards you. It has nothing to do with them. Because your life has nothing to do with them. It's never had anything to do with them. And why should it? My manager, when she was chastising me, told me how disappointed she was. How disappointed she was. Like, and I'm going to be honest, that had to be the most insulting thing anyone has ever said to me. That is the worst thing anyone's ever said to me. As if I somehow hold any of her opinions in regard to anything else in my life. That somehow she thinks she has the power over my life to say something like that. And that's where it all stems from. That's where it's always come down to. Why would you put up with a shitty job that doesn't pay you well? Why do we all put up with it? We all still go to these jobs. And it's because we're trapped. We can't all unionize and go on strike. No one would support us. And the jobs, no, we need to go to them anyway. Some of us have kids that will die. Some of us have debt. Some of us have a bunch of stuff. Some of us are required by law to have a job. I had to go do it. But that is the problem. We have all given up all of our power to these freaking jobs. These jobs that will cut you just because their bottom line doesn't like it. They'll overhire and then cut all the qualified people out, all the people that sacrifice so many hours for them, and only asked in return some money. Jobs that will abuse your trust, will mentally and emotionally abuse you into thinking that you want to be here, that you have to be here, there's nowhere else for you to go. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like an abusive boyfriend. That sounds like a dude that is telling you you're not good enough for anybody else. I'm the only person that would ever take you in. That's what that sounds like. Because that's what that is like. Gosh damn, Mike. That's exactly what it is. Why do we put up with it? And all we're doing by prolonging it, we're just making everybody else suffer with us. That's the whole reason why boomers get upset about Gen Z complaining about work conditions, is because, well, we had to do it. What kind of philosophy is that? Evil's okay as long as it's towards everybody equally? There's nothing equal about it. All we're doing is prolonging it. All we are doing is just ignoring the problems because it's most convenient for us right now. Because there's this culture that if you aren't subjecting yourself to at least a little bit of torture, you don't have an actual job. We all demonize anybody that tries to help employees. We all demonize anybody that has any opinion that goes against these corporations. You know why people don't like HR? Because the same people... Can you join? Sorry, no, it's a family server. We only have 8 slots and they're already full. Yeah, but you know why people don't like HR in businesses and they hate them? Because the people that are supposed to be on your side, I said that with quotations, by the way, because they still work for the company, so obviously they're not on your side ever. But the people that are supposed to be on your side are also the same people that will be the ones to fire you. HR is responsible for hiring and firing. And the reason nobody likes them is because they will undermine the employee to help the employer. That is how it always has worked. That's how it's always going to work. And until HR becomes its own separate entity, there will never be a change. But it doesn't matter. Because as a nation, we've already failed at any of this. all just trapped, thinking we can't change it. Thinking it's gonna hurt us too bad to do anything about it. And then we all point the finger at one another. Because it's easier to point it at somebody else that's not responsible for it. Not responsible for the state of things. And to ever point it at ourselves. It's infinitely easier to make future generations bite the bullet than it is for us to bite a bigger bullet to spare everybody else. You know, it's really easy to say stuff about it. It's really easy to say how much you hate your job, how much jobs suck, how much managers suck. But what's hard to do is actually do something about it. Hello, welcome to the stream. I'm just having kind of a melancholy talk about jobs. And just how everyone's just kind of accepted that it should just be soul-sucking. That we all just have to take a little bit of abuse. I don't know. All I know is the way that everything's going, the way the attitude has been shifted towards this stuff, because we've all told the new generation that we haven't treated them like shit since they were born. And yeah, maybe we spoiled them a little bit. But now they won't accept all the bullshit. They know the possibilities of how they can be treated and not just this is how it is. And it was inevitably going to happen. Do I think the Gen Z's spoiled? Yes, I do. I think that their opinions matter 1,000 times more than any other generations ever have. But I also think that this opens up the nation to better itself. Because while they are over contrasting their message with screaming about work conditions that aren't really a big deal. There are work conditions that are a big deal. And we all just say they're normal or we excuse them. I used to think the most dangerous thing that you could ever have in life was a abusive relationship. Like a romantic abusive relationship, or even one with a family member or a friend. And I've had all those except for a romantic one. Bruh. But now I know there's nothing. I mean, maybe the romantic one's worse. Again, I haven't had one. But having a family member or a friend be toxic to you and just manipulate you and abuse you, you can always walk away with minimal backlash. Besides maybe, you know, them doing illegal shit, but or harassing you. But in the end, you know, it's more personal and manageable. But when you have an employer or a manager at a job that you may like, you may love, you may hate, but it's the job that pays the bills. When you're in that kind of relationship, I mean, what are you to do? You might say, well, just get a different job. Yeah, but it takes time to get a different job. And my job just went from mediocre to bad and then escalated drastically to worst. Or to worse. In literally the matter of days. And it's not like it was all peachy before that. Like I said, it was bad before that. But now it feels impossible. Feels like the only way to go forward is to run away from it, give up, or just let it all destroy everything that I like about myself. And give up on everything that I like about myself. It doesn't help. It doesn't help that now there's someone else that gets affected by this decision as well. It doesn't help that we got a new car and all that stuff. That adds on to the needing of stable finances. It doesn't help that I was planning on my future, at least for a year, to be a part of this job. That's the thing I think probably I hate the most about it. One of the questions I was asked was, do you see yourself being here for, like, how long do you see yourself working here? Of course, I answered 5 years because I don't know. And also, I'm not going to say, I don't know, in a year or so. I didn't hate this job a week ago. It was just a job. It had its downs, it had its ups. Thought I was on the up. It all came crashing down. This is so funny. Before I got this job, I would, I guess, preach to the family members that would tell me about stability and whatnot, and how freaking stupid it is. Financial stability. What a joke. And the fact that they all think that an employer gives you that. Yeah. Sure. The only thing an employer really gives you is an opportunity to make money. This whole culture of I'm not going to hire someone that's just here for the paycheck is just terrible. I trust someone that's just there for the paycheck more than I trust anybody else. Because there's no ulterior motives there. There's no ulterior motives. They aren't being nice to you because they want a promotion. They're not being nice. They're not doing a good job because they want, a raise. They're there to get a job done, and that's it. And they will always be the first ones to tell you when you have stepped over the line. Or to tell you that this task is meaningless. And that's not to say there's not lazy people out there. Or that even I don't do lazy stuff from time to time. Yeah, there's tasks in both the positions I have right now that, I don't take too seriously. I do them. But, if it comes down to doing them and being late or not being able to do something more important, obviously I'm going to be doing the more important thing. Like, when it comes down to it, I am not this mindless robot that's just going to complete task after task. And I'm not this mindless robot that's going to do it all perfectly. Every time. I'm going to forget something. I'm going to mess up something. Whether it's every day, whether it's once a week, I can't tell you. But I can tell you that if I am constantly messing up something, and it's always something different every single time I do the shift, I can tell you I am doing everything within my power so that it doesn't happen. But you people out there, you asshats out there, whether you're a manager, employee, I don't care. You false crusaders that make it your mission to not only find but report anything that you don't like because it's wrong. I'm not talking about being abused by anything or like anything that actually hurts you. I'm talking stuff that you could easily just fix or do yourself. Such as something wasn't cleaned well, or something looked dirty, or whatever. You stupid bucket helmet wearing bitches that have to point the finger at somebody on everything and can never let a single thing go unpunished. Get over yourselves. If you can't take your head out of your ass for 5 seconds to realize that somebody is putting in the effort to do better, but they're still not perfect, or they're still not at the level which you want them to be at yet, if you can't recognize that and just let things slide, not big things, don't let it slide too much to the fact that, they're messing that specific thing up every single night now. But first time offenses, while they are trying to better themselves at the position that they are in, maybe just let it slide. Because what it comes down to is I am putting so much effort into just making sure that this job can stay at the fetching job. I don't have to hear anything about it when I go home. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry about it. And then the fact that you complain that you had to pick up an extra chore. Boo-hoo. And again, if this was the third, fourth, fifth time I did it, completely justified. There's no reason why you should be having to do my job. But it wasn't. It was the first time. And you took it upon yourself to not only complain about it, but to try to reprimand me about it, change my entire schedule up about it, and I don't know. And that's where I get the feeling of like, you have no emotional intelligence whatsoever. I have just been pouring my heart out into the job as like a last ditch effort of like, okay, I'm really going to like put everything into this.
And the way I get appreciated for that is by getting called into an office and told that you were disappointed in me because I missed one chore. I missed one chore in 6 months. And the only reason you gave any kind of shit that I missed that chore was because corporate was going to show up and you were going to get in trouble. I need to go take my dog out. Actually, gonna go give him a bath. He threw up and pooped his pants last night again. I just don't know. I can apply and apply and apply for a bunch of jobs I'm qualified for. But it doesn't matter. It never has. Let me do this last one, and then I'm gonna call it a stream. But if anybody's been wondering why I haven't been streaming, it's this. This is why. I knew it was gonna happen. I knew, and I warned everybody, this is what was going to happen. I would be so soul crushed that I just would give up on things that actually mattered. That I would no longer be myself. But good news is I am looking for another job. I watched videos on like when to know that you need to leave a job. And my current job hits like all the criteria. It hits all of it. Well, I mean, I'll probably, I don't know. Tomorrow I go work at the deli and that's gonna kick my ass, but it'll be 1,000 times less stressful than what I'm gonna be doing tonight. I've never felt this much anxiety or this much anything in my life. Besides maybe on my mission. But even then, the aggressor, I didn't have to see him. I only had to see him once every 6 weeks. But yeah. I really do feel like a sink on the brim. Like when you leave the faucet on, you plug the sink and you forget about it. Or like the tub is probably a better way to explain it. And you realize, oh shit, and you come rushing in and it hasn't spilled yet. But it's like a second away. All you can do is just grab a cup and start scooping it out little at a time. The only difference is I have no control over the faucet. I could try scooping as much of the water out as fast as I can. But that faucet's going to turn on again. And I don't know for how long, I don't know for how much. I just want it to stop. I just wanted. It's not like I want to just spend my entire day playing Minecraft either. I just want to be happy. I just want to get excited again about things. Feel like I have any kind of control. That if there was a trip I wanted to go on or a weekend I wanted to get away, I could just do it. And worry about the finances later, you know. But not worry that when I get back I won't have a job. Not worry that my employer just won't give me a Sunday off because I'm the only person that was willing to work on that day. And they're too lazy to come in to work that day. have to worry about just one day telling my wife that I got fired and that we're just screwed. Most importantly, I just want to settle. I just want it to be done. And know that what I'm doing right now is what I will be doing the rest of my life. I don't have to worry about, is this job going to get worse? Am I going to have to find a new one soon? I never want to have to worry about, am I going to be able to pay the rent this month because I didn't get the amount of hours that I needed? Because my scheduling manager just decided not to give me the normal amount of hours. Staple. What a joke. The only true thing that's stable is something that you have control over. Something that you have some kind of input into. Maybe it's just time to tear down the trim. Build it back up. Though it may not be much different. It is better. Anyway, thanks everybody that is watching or will be watching. I'm thinking I'm gonna stream some more Armored Core, maybe some Sekiro, because I bought that as well. Since it was on sale. But I don't know when. Sometime. Anyway. After I'm done with this castle, I might stream building the other one, or I'll just build it. I'll see y'all later.